morning to good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have here the opening section for the Cine Center for Innovation in New Energies annual workshop, where it's going to be discussing this very hot topic. It's not only important, but really necessary for the development of the society and the country. In this opening section, I would like to pass the floor to Professor João Marcos Romano, that is Rector of Research at the State University of Campinas, where the hub of the center, Cine, is hosted. Please, Professor João Marcos Travassos, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rubens. Good morning. Good morning, Ana Flávia, Luiz Eugênio. So as Rubens said, I am João Romano. I'm the Vice President for Research at the University of Campinas. And I would like also, on behalf of our Dean, Professor Antônio Meireles, to welcome you to the Cine Conference 2021. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I congratulate my colleagues, Professor Rubens, Professor Ana Flávia, for organizing this event. It's an opportunity for me to express the crucial relevance of these research centers in collaboration with companies, for Unicamp, for FAPESP, and for the Brazilian research in general. These centers have been a model of success in delivering high-level research, training human resources, and with interacting with the innovation ecosystem. And in this particular aspect, it's worth highlighting Unicamp's vocation and pioneering spirit in transforming its research into products and startups. I have had the opportunity to talk a few times with Ana Flávia, and I am aware of about the excellent work done by Cine. I guess you speak like that, Cine, but I would like to congratulate all the involved researchers and also to thank Shell for its strategic partnership and support. I also want to express the commitment of my support and that of our Dean, so that these works can be developed with all necessary facilities. I know you have more than me, even you have in mind, but I must comment that the center also has to look to its future, to the next steps of this successful partnership. The future points us towards the energetic transition, sustainable development, renewable energies. And I guess these keywords are on your agenda. By playing a little bit, maybe with the words, they can also be applied to the context of Cine itself, transition, renewal, sustainability, so that Cine can continue for many years to provide important research results for Unicamp, for our partner Shell, and for the scientific community in general. I'd like to finish by assuring you that you can count on the full support of Unicamp's administration from now and for the next steps of this important collaboration. Thank you very much, and have a great day of work today.
Thanks very much, Professor João Romano. You touched the critical words of the center activities, and I'm glad to pass the word now for this morning section. This is a 3-day event in the online way due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and for sure next year we're going to have presential one. So this next session, thanks very much, Professor João Romano, for being with us. And the next session, then we have 3 talks. One of them is the Senior Director, Professor Ana Flávia. Later on, the Scientific Director of FAPESP, Professor Luiz Eugênio Melo. That's a pleasure to have you here too. And the Camila Brandão, the representative of Shell in the center. So with the floor, Professor Ana Flávia Nogueira, Director of the Hub of the Center. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Professor João. Thank you, Rubens, for the
See you,
introduction. So first, I'd like to welcome all the attendees of this second Cine annual meeting. So it's a pleasure to have all of you here for the next 3 days. So I'm start sharing my screen here. So today I'll talk about 3 years of Cine, what I have done, think about the past, but also more important, think about the future. This is the outline of my talk. I'll briefly show you some numbers from Cine since 2018. And then at the end, I'm going to provoke the audience here with some questions that I hope that we can discuss later on. So this is our executive summary. Some of these numbers I'm going to detail in the next slides. But I think it's important to remember that Cine, the Center for Innovation on New Energies, is a successful partnership between Shell and São Paulo Science Foundation, FAPESP. Initially, we had an investment of $10 million from Shell and about $18 million from FAPESP and also the universities. Just to remind you that Cine has 4 programs. In total, we have 20 projects. So the first program is the Dense Energy Carriers, where I'm the PI and is located here at the Unicamp. The second program is Advanced Energy Storage, is also here at Unicamp. That is coordinated by Professor Rubens Maciel. The third program is Messentia Products, that is located in the Nuclear Institute in São Paulo. And the fourth program is Computational Material Science and Chemistry, that is located at the University of São Paulo campus of São Carlos. So these are our numbers. It's important to remind that the Cine started its activities in August 2018. So at that moment, we had about 136 members in total. We had a growth of about 100%. And today we're about approaching 280 members. Let me get my pointer here. So we can see here on the right of this graph here that most part of our members are actually PhD students, and the PhD students, master students. We have also undergraduate students here, the majority of our members. In terms of, if you look at the terms of the ratio between students and postdocs per faculty members, we are about 3.7. And I think it's important here to increase the number of postdocs here per faculty member, because we have less than 1 postdoc per faculty member. So this is something that is critical. I mean, that's my opinion here in the center at the moment, but I hope to improve this number in the near future. In terms of scientific production, so Cine has produced about 280 publications in total. Many of these publications were highlighted as covers in important scientific journals from Royal Chemical Society, American Chemical Society, really. We started in 2018 with 21, if you remember, because we started in August. In 2019, we have 69. In 2020, we had about 100. Let me get out my screen here to see the numbers. Yes, better. Sorry, in 2020, 100 publications, and till October this year, 88 publications. I think we are reaching a kind of plateau, but I'm really happy with these numbers considering the pandemic. I think it's really important to say that the pandemic has affected all the laboratories, and I think we are shut down for more than 1 year. Until now, we are still, like many of our labs are not working, it's not fully operated because we are still restrictions in our laboratories. For example, the number of students per faculty member. So I think only next year, 2021, is actually we're going to go back to what we call like normal, and I hope so. But I'm really happy with this number of publications here at Cine. Okay, and thinking also, I think it's also important to take into account the number of citations and the impact factor. About 46% of our papers have been published in scientific journals with an impact factor higher than 5. We total have approaching about 1,600 citations, and of course, we really want to improve the impact factor of publications. This is something that all members at Cine are really working hard on that. If you look at the keywords for Cine publications, we have here, for instance, photovoltaics, hydrogen, supercapacitors, hematite, nanoparticles, platinum mechanism, in situ. So this, I think all of these keywords actually involve the 4 programs that we have at the moment. And now it's also important to look at the internationalization of our center. This is a country collaboration map. You can see that our members are actually publishing papers with people from all over the world. Here you can see North America, Europe, Asia. One thing that caught my attention when I look at the map for the first time is actually we really need to improve the collaborations here, especially in South America, for the next years. In terms of intellectual property, we have at the moment 2 claimed patents. Those patents come from the advanced energy storage. The first patent here is a device that measures the capacitance, has a capacitance precision to measure. And the second patent is the electrochemical device for dynamic operating regime. But I have a spoiler. I know that more other 2 or 3 patents are about to be submitted soon. In terms of product development, here we have, this is just to show you here, this was a kind of a spectroelectrochemical cell that was designed to in situ experiments. So the principal investigator of this project is Professor Pablo Sebastian Fernandes from the DEC division. It was highlighted in the front cover of Can Electrocan. So this product was shared by more than 10 media here in Brazil. I'm going to talk more about this electrochemical cell for in situ experiments tomorrow during my talk. And also in terms of another product in development, also from the Dense Energy Carriers division, is a perovskite solar module. So I think you have a video here, you can see. So this is our 5 by 5 centimeters solar module working in a lab. So we have just established a collaboration with this company in Brazil, MG Grafeno, in order to replace, for those that are familiar with perovskite solar cells, they know that the contact is gold. So we need to replace for cheaper electrodes. So we established a collaboration with MG Grafeno in order to test their graphene materials. And also we just initiate a partnership with Cine Brazil. So Cine Brazil is the leading in the world in the area of organic photovoltaics. So the idea is like at the end of at the half of 2023, we have this kind of 20 by 20 perovskite solar module. So in terms of Cine in the media, you can see here we have many publications in the media. Please follow us in our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Tomorrow, Professor Juarez is going to talk more about our activities in this area. So, okay, so it's time to look at the future. So this is when we think about 2030. So there are many questions here that, as I mentioned in the beginning, that I would like to provoke the audience, and I hope to discuss with the attendees in this conference here. It's like, should we think about to reshape our center, to expand the scope? I know that Camille is going to talk a lot about this during her presentation. For instance, should we bring wind energy to Cine, or should we expand, for instance, the photovoltaics? I think it's also important to think about our local industry. Should we be more connected to our local industry and look for new research partners, not only seeking financial support, but also in order to expand our scope. So I think Camila is going to present some of the thoughts from Shell. And then before ending my talk, I really would like to thank here first to our founding sponsors and leading research institute and universities, FAPESP, Shell, Unicamp, IPEM, University of São Paulo. I think it's important to mention that we have other key Brazilian universities and institutes that is really part of the Cine, like o UFSCar, UFABC, Unifesp, CTI, Unesp. And also I'd like to thank some key international research collaborations. So we have all of these universities and institutes here, we have like signed agreements. So this is really important for Cine in order to improve its internationalization. I also would like to thank our International Advisory Board and Shell technician champions here. We had this fantastic meeting last month in August, I don't know, 2 months ago in August. Thank you all for your guidance in our center. And also, of course, I'd like to thank Camila for her amazing support. I'm really learning a lot from you. I'd like to thank my other PIs, Fábio Coral Fonseca, Juarez Silva, that's also EDK coordinator, Professor Rubens Maciel, and also Professor Pablo Sebastian, this is our technology transfer coordination. Thank you for the support in these last years. And of course, my many special thanks are to my team. These people really work really hard in the backstage of Cine. I'd like to thank to Junior, Mary, Beatriz, Jackie, Miguel, and Veronica for your amazing support. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you soon in 2022. We have already set the dates of our third Cine annual conference. Is from 18 to 20 October next year. The venue is going to be here in Vitória Hotel in Campinas. So we'll see you there in 2022. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ana. We are charmed. We are exactly in time. That's quite good. And then I pass the floor to Professor Luiz Eugênio Melo, Scientific Director of FAPESP. It's a really pleasure to have you here. I know that you're, let's say, very exciting about the new energies and the sustainability, all the activity of FAPESP towards this direction. Please take the floor.
Thank you, Rubens. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to you all. It's a pleasure being here. I will aim my talk mainly to the International Advisory Board, but of course, it may be also of interest to the other participants on this event. For me, it's a great pleasure being here on this opening event of this evaluation process of the Cine initiative. I will start with some brief words about FAPESP. FAPESP is a research funding agency that was created some 60 years ago, and it has a number of aspects which may highlight its relevance to the Brazilian research and development or science and technology scene. One of them being that this model has been copied by all of the different states of Brazil, in Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, Paraná, Rio Grande do Norte, Rio de Janeiro, and so on. So every different state in Brazil has emulated the model of FAPESP and has its own agency. It's very unfortunate for Brazil that recent governments have not paid that great attention to science and technology, mainly at the federal level. And this leaves a lack of support, which FAPESP alone cannot afford to support. However, with the initiatives such as the engineering research centers, which Cine is one of them, a very successful one, we were then able to attract partners from the private sector and then to leverage the resources that we invest in developing capacity in science and technology in the state of São Paulo, and for that matter, that's also of relevance for Brazil, and we look forward to making this all an international endeavor. As Professor Ana Flávia correctly pointed out, Cine has already achieved a number of milestones in its path, and mainly associated with the production of papers, but not only of that, but also of patents and new results that might be of relevance for the energy sector at large. The current pandemic has been a challenge for all of us, for me in particular. I took this place as scientific director of FAPESP in April 27 last year, right in the middle of the crisis associated with COVID. I have never had a meeting with more than 5 persons in presence. I have been already to many different countries: South Africa, China, Germany, Denmark, United States, and so on. However, all remotely, never presentially, at least not in the presence of being the scientific director of FAPESP. So it really represents a challenge for the agency and for myself to undertake the task of having this position on this current situation. With regard to Cine in particular and to this event, we're quite grateful to Shell, which actually it's a strong partner for the engineering research centers that FAPESP sponsors in partnership with Shell. And to that end, we might say that Shell is a strategic partner to FAPESP. We're renewing the RCGI, which will have an opening ceremony next Friday with the presence of the state governor of the state of São Paulo, João Doria, and a number of other authorities. We're currently hosting this Cine event, and Cine itself, it's quite particular in the sense that it's characterized by its 4 nodes, which are already shown by Professor Ana Flávia. And these units, these nodes, have a strong interconnection among them. That's on itself a challenge. We all know that organizations tend to have a silo mentality. We all, as human beings, unfortunately, tend to suffer from that aspect. And to that end, we hope that Cine may also contribute in showing ways in which a stronger interaction between the different nodes may highlight new forms of developing science and technology, which will be of relevance not only for us in the state of São Paulo, but for our scientific community at large. We have, as already mentioned, contracted 20 million reais from FAPESP, 32 million reais from Shell, and we have a contribution from the participating institutions in the order of 78 million reais. So in total, this accounts for 132 million reais, which is a substantial amount of investment, even for foreign countries such as European nations or North American countries. Of critical importance to me, to FAPESP, it's the role of the International Advisory Board, to which I thank in advance of having accepted the invitation to participate in this endeavor and in this task of evaluating Cine. But the International Advisory Board, it's comprised of experts, great scientists in the area of research and activity developed at Cine. FAPESP looks forward for the International Advisory Board that they fulfill a role of friendly critics in the sense of friends. And of course, you are all friends because you have a trust relationship between yourselves and Cine. And in that end, we consider you as friends. But critics are definitely an aspect of relevance for us because your analysis and feedback might allow us to detect problems. Any organization, any human endeavor has problems, has difficulties. And by detecting those problems and opportunities that may arise and might being lost by the center. So we look forward to your advice on how to improve the activities developed by Cine. So to that end, what's not functioning well, what could be improved is of relevance for us at FAPESP. What research that's being conducted around the globe, but Cine is maybe losing the opportunity to look to that venue. And of course, there is always the challenge between focusing on a given agenda or missing opportunities in some other aspects. It's never an easy choice, but it's definitely something that's continually done. And we look forward to receiving again the advice of the International Advisory Board on that matter. What good ideas you may bring by having a connected network across the globe and being exposed to ideas on different environments and that you might bring to Cine. Again, it's something that we look forward. The International Advisory Board should produce a short report with recommendations. And this report should be, of course, sent to FAPESP together with the scientific annual report that will be provided by Cine. And I would like to end my talk by highly praising the participation of Professor Michael Toney, Shu, Osvaldo Novaes de Oliveira, Su Huai Wei, and I hope to have pronounced your name correctly, Nguyen Min, and finally, Professor Prashant Kamat. So we thank you very much for your time, for your dedication, because your participation on this process is of great relevance for FAPESP. I have taken the task as scientific director of FAPESP by looking forward to further expanding the successful model of the engineering research centers. We're very glad that this year alone, we might sign contracts in the order alone of investment by the different companies of 133 million reais. If we, at the end of the year, achieve this goal, we will have doubled the best year that FAPESP has had in the past in terms of attracting and the investment from private companies or public companies to the development of engineering research centers. So once again, I would like to thank Ana Flavia, Rubens, and all of the participants from the International Advisory Board and the other lead researchers from Cine for a very good work that you have been carrying, and to keep up with good work. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Professor Luis Melo, for your words, for the support of FAPESP, always being with us. Thanks very much. I'll pass the floor to Camila Brandão, the Cine Shell representative at the Cine Executive Committee. And she's very excited about the new energies, the sustainability, work very hard to increase even more the Cine visibility and the activities. Thanks very much, Camila, to be with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rubens. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. My kind greetings and regards to my colleagues, Professor Luis Eugenio, Professor Ana Flávia. Thank you, Rubens, all the panelists and members. Let me share my screen because I have a very short presentation to share with you, and I hope, let me just drag it here. I don't have many slides to show you, and I just want to share some reflections with you because I'm pretty much sure that all the researchers here, they have very interesting information to share about the projects, about the deliverables, about the achievements the center has accomplished so far. But for now, I just want to share with you the last thoughts and the last developments we had both in industry and also in Shell, and how that will, but not should, but will reflect in the future of the center. Because the mandate of the center is to definitely contribute for the whole energy transition process that the state of São Paulo, that Brazil and the whole world needs to go through in the next decades. Okay, I will get started with a reflection and with a very intriguing question about what future holds for us. And you can see for this pictures that we have basically two very opposite possibilities here, which means that we have very critical decisions to be made today. And that goes through investing and putting our best of our capitals towards the discovery, the unveiling of the most promising possibilities to maybe turn things around about the tragic future that most of our colleagues, researchers around the world has been forecasting about the next 3 decades, which is not imagination. It's based on science reports and data. Climate change and global warming, it's a reality, and there is a global challenge that needs to be tackled. And we, as representatives of the scientific community, as the energy industry, we need to take the lead, we need to take the role and assume the mandates that we need to do something to change that. So I would say that I expect that my future will hold many possibilities for most of us in terms of professional developments, in terms of a legacy for and a heritage for our descendants, our sons and our grandsons and daughters. And I hope after a few decades, I will leave as my personal legacy the best of my efforts in terms of putting in place several initiatives to make a better future for all of us. And this is up to us, including all of you, which is attending this conference right now. Talking about what Shell is doing and what the visions we have for the future, this is a global strategy that we have released globally. This is an open material, you can find it in the home media, but this is the strategy which we call the Powering Progress, which have 4 main pillars. The first one is generating shareholder value, which means that we are building a whole new industry out of these new renewable energy sources. Of course, that hydrocarbons will still play a very relevant role in that space in the next decades to come, because the energy matrix cannot be changed in a sudden way. We need to go slowly, step by step, creating the new value chain for the renewable ones, but we need to find a way to make it in a profitable way, in a sustainable way, in several manners. But here we are talking about making renewables as a profitable market that will ensure our survival for the future. But I think the one of the most important is the net zero target, because Shell has made the commitment that all the emissions will be null by 2050, because we truly believe that there's no way out of that. We need to commit in order to make things happen. So we have the commitment to be carbon neutral until 2050. And this is one of the pillars. The other one is the powering lives, because we believe that without energy, there is no human development. And we truly believe that energy needs to be affordable, needs to be inclusive, needs to be cost assessive, and this is what we believe that will be the lever for the future development for humankind as a whole. And of course, it needs to respect nature. It needs to be sustainable. It needs to be with low carbon intensity. We need to find ways to maybe to create the cycling industry, when materials can be recycled, can be reused, can be reapplied somehow. And we need to think about manufacturing ways of doing the new technology without having that high carbon intensity in the processes. So these are the 4 pillars, and these are the compelling, let's say, ideas that has impacted also the activities we have in Brazil, and that had a direct impact in the role which I'm currently holding today in Brazil. And I should say that today Cine is embedded into a whole new structure in Brazil. Is a program called the Power and Decarbonization Solutions, which is a technology program which the mission statement is right on the screen, which is to develop and mature sustainable, low cost, high efficiency national technologies to support renewables and energy solution business to deliver affordable clean energy. So it's a really bold statement, but in summary, it says that we need to look for affordable, clean solutions, national solutions that will support local business in order for the whole country and the region to thrive along this energy transition process. But we may be wondering where Cine is embedded into that, because we have 6 main work streams here in Brazil for the renewables space, for the research and technology. Cine is embedded into the long-range research one, which was already there, but now we have 5 more work streams. And this is a very good addition, because which brings to Cine to a framework when we can actually connect the fundamental research we are doing toward the applied technology that we're going to see in the end of the maturation funnel. And we can bring our researchers together to the industry, for them to connect, to see the real necessities of the industry, and to actually extract the maximum value of the fundamental research we do here in the country. Of course, that we have for that a few value drivers. As I said, we need to have some very specific targets to be achieved with each one of the projects that we are going to associate in the future, which it has the main goal of having of promoting actually in the final technology that will be deployed for the whole industry. We have the mandate to deliver a cost reduction, efficiency improvement. They need to be sustainable, and we have the goal to develop the supply chain in a country. But we may be wondering, but we are talking about science, we are talking about universities, how all of this could connect to this whole new future and framework for the country. Well, this is probably the most boring slide that I have, but it's really important, because it shows the importance of having the fundamental research, because it's absolutely impossible to have any kind of technology deployed at any fields of science and of humankind without having fundamental research, because all technology is a start as a science. it needs to get started with a fundamental science. And because of that, we have Cine as our fundamental research pillar for the whole technology maturation funnel. So which means that the chevron arrow size here has a direct relationship with the amount of investments that will be made, which means that we still have the intent to invest a lot in fundamental research, because we truly believe that without having a solid science being generated, created, disseminated among our human resources we have in Brazil, we're never going to have a solid industry with a lot of technology deployed and spread it over the country and even exported to other places in the world. So this is a belief, and we are making a longer-term commitment with Cine, and we truly want to have Cine as our fundamental pillar for that part of science to be developed and to deliver that connection with the rest of with the end of this funnel, which is the actual technology to be deployed in the field. So going back to one of the slides that Professor Ana Flávia showed you, and she was talking about, okay, Camila will talk about a little bit more about the scope and reshape and what Cine is going to look like in the future. But I must say that we are getting started with that, because Professor Luis Eugenio just mentioned about the renewal of the RCGI, and they are just signing the contract of 5 more years of relationship. And we expect to do the same in 2 years' time for the Cine. And for now, we are getting started with this exercise of thinking about what Cine will look like in 2 years' time. What will be celebrating, what will be actually broadcasting, about what will be the new mandate, what will be the new face of Cine, of course, connecting with this new global targets we have, the local targets we have for Brazil, and of course, following the developments of the industry in the country and making the best use of the minds we have, and in the universities, the best researchers, and extract the maximum value out of that, how we can translate that as a maximum value to the overall community. So all those statements, I don't know if you noticed, but Professor Ana Flávia had lots of questions, but now I have some statements here which say we're going to have a scope expansion, we're going to have a reshape, we expect to connect with local industry, yes, and that will be connected directly with the energy transition process that we are going through. And I hope that for the next conference next year, and hopefully that will be in person, we're gonna be like in a much better position in that pandemic that we are facing, that finally you're seeing the light in the end of the tunnel. And I would have something more solid to show you an indication about what this new center will look like. But one thing is for sure, we're going to evolve. We're going to follow this new, is not new, but this new commitments, the global commitments that has been done towards the energy transition. In Cine, definitely, it's a very, very important part, a very important piece of all of that for us in Shell. And this is what I had to say. Thank you very much for my time. I hope I could respect the allowed time for me. But I wish you all a very good event, and pay a lot of attention, because we have very good people presenting very good things here today. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Camila. Thanks very much for all the speakers. We are sharp in time. In fact, we are quicker than I was expecting, and that was quite good, because we have time to go straight away to the section of the question and the answers. That is really, really important to the audience, to whom I would like to thank you for the more than 260 people are together. That's a quite good number. So the floor is open for the questions. Thanks very much for all the speakers and to be with us here. And then we have this question in the answer section. Well, before getting the first question, I have one. we know that the world of the new energy is moving very quickly with several solutions. And then we rely on the concept of energy matrix to do this. And this kind of things makes the science and the technology has to be very quickly developed, and you have to long-term vision, but at the same time, short-term application. The COP21 and the next meeting now in London is going to press us to have, we want to have short solutions. Then I would like or quicker solutions, let's say. And the state of São Paulo is one good example of a state that is practicing new energies and things like this. And FAPESP is always supporting this. Shell is showing his power to be an clean energy company. And Cine is giving its contribution. So I would like you to listen from you how we can deal with this dilemma to work in scientific way, but at the same time deliver results for the society that are arguing for solutions. Professor Luis Melo.
I cannot hear to this question without remembering Mencken, and I will cite his saying, which is, for every complex problem, there is an answer that is clear, simple, and wrong. And the aspect there is that we all would like miracles, and we all would like easy solutions that are ready to be applied. Those may be available here and there, but it's not the most frequent case. And the building of science and of strong science and learning that is associated with it, it's of definite importance. The state of São Paulo, of course, has particular assets, such as the sugarcane industry and the ethanol industry, which has a large and long tradition, and from which we may benefit. But again, this is not something that's built from scratch and immediately and pops up with a ready solution. It's something that's built over many decades. It's not easy to find where the world will go. Will it be wind? Will it be hydrogen cells? Will it be solar? Will it be biofuels and renewables to that end? And we should strive to provide knowledge in all of those areas. So I understand that the task there, it's for you, scientists, as specialists in the field, to lead us and to show us the possible ways that we may follow.
Maybe if I could add a little bit, just to
Yes.
because to share the views of the industry, maybe we could contribute a little bit on that process of bringing some sense of purpose to the work that we do in a fundamental research space, because this is also the root of the reason of the motivation we have to connect the researchers from the center to the industry as well, because it brings a sense of reality, of a sense of priority. That gives more clarity in terms of what will be the actual priority of the work that we're doing, what will be the real focus of the work. Of course, there is no miracle, as Professor Luis Eugenio said. There's nothing we can do if the process takes 3 years. It's going to take 3 years. But at least we can save some other resources from doing something which is not that important, to be focused on something that will actually add more value for that specific moment in time. And I think this is one of the factors of success, of having at least a certain level of acceleration of the work, in connecting the work that we're doing in a fundamental space with the challenges we have in the industry. And I think I'm not sure how this is going to end, but I'm eager to see what will be the outcome of having this closer connection between those two worlds, because I always seeing representatives from the industry complaining about they don't have infrastructure to do fundamental research, and they are always skipping some of the activities that could actually improve the work they do because they don't have the connection. So we are trying to fill this gap. Maybe that could help a little bit as well.
Thanks very much, Camila. Thanks very much, Luis Eugenio. Ana Flávia wants to talk.
Now, I'd just like to complement what Camila and Professor Luis Eugenio said. I think Cine and the other engineer centers from FAPESP, as for instance, the ICGS, I think they have shown that investment is really important. And when I'm talking about investment, it's not investment in terms of financial investments, but also investments in human resources. We have brilliant minds here. We have brilliant students and postdocs. We need to invest on these human resources. I think this is really important. I think Cine, all the numbers that I show you today, it was only possible because we really have good people working really hard, motivated people, really looking for a bright future. This is just my final comment on just to complement with Eugenio and Camila.
Yes, we have one question, but before that, I just mentioned that is floor open also to the, let's say, startups and new ideas that you are very much welcome for FAPESP in the show too. Well, there are a question from Pablo Sebastian is mentioned something that has been said here. One of the main problems that we are facing today is the lack of human resources, scholarships, between slashes. And then the question is, this also generates lack of perspectives and affect the motivation of the students. Is FAPESP thinking contribute more in this sense? Luis Eugenio, that's a question straight to you, of course, open to everybody.
We at FAPESP have had a long-term perspective of how we allocate our financial resources. In 1998, Brazil has experienced one of its economic crises, and with that, funding from CNPq and CAPES dropped dramatically. The number of scholarships that were requested from FAPESP rised dramatically. And at that point, FAPESP was allocating something in the order of 50 or 60% of its financial resources for scholarships. If we let that tendency to run free, FAPESP would become similar to other agencies, which would not have funds for financing equipment or reagents or services, and would fund solely fellowships. Currently, this year, as we had a very important drop in the activity of scientific organizations, such as academic organizations mainly, we actually had at one moment of the year an investment, an allocation on fellowships, which achieved 44% of the funds that were allocated by FAPESP. So we already allow for fellowships to the limit that we can afford. To overcome that limitation, one of the advantages of partnering with Shell, for instance, is that the funds allocated from Shell or by Shell do not have that limit. So it's an advantage to Cine and to other initiatives similar to Cine that to have funds from other entities, which may allow to cover this increasing demand for fellowships. But from the FAPESP perspective, we are already at the limit that the Superior Council of FAPESP concedes for fellowships. And that's not the current perspective of the Superior Council. It has been the perspective of the past 3 decades, I would say.
Thanks very much, Professor Luis Melo. We have some questions here, but we have short time. One of them is, with good results and proof of concept prototypes, how does Shell plan to support accelerating this case, the science and the engineer as a startup, or something like that? Is there any plan for that? It's a question made by Hudson Honey. Camila, I think
I was trying to unmute. I was trying to unmute myself, but I was not successful. But yeah, so I don't know if you recall my last and boring slide about the technology maturation path. You could see that there is a middle ground between the fundamental research and the applied technology, which is pretty much focused on startup tests and concept proving space, and there is a lot of let's say government incentives to actually test those technologies, to promote their use and to increase the confidence of using those technologies in the country. So we can see from the federal sphere there is a lot of well, new regulations reviews that will add to the text the incentives to invest in those type of projects in order to increase the confidence and to de-risk some of those technologies in order to increase the confidence for the investors to choose those solutions for the energy use. So we expected to see not only for the renewables, but also for the gas use, because gas is also seen as a transitional and a support for the energy transition in country. And considering the future energy matrix distribution that we see for the next decades, but in general, we're going to see an increase in the number of projects that will be pretty much focused on testing the concepts of new technologies, especially investing in those startups and small companies that will be dedicated to this type of projects. Of course, FAPESP has also a line of investments. If Professor Luis Eugenio has something to add, I know that there is a special line of investment for that, but yes, we are looking for that as well.
Thanks very much, Camila. I have a question here from Flavia Cassiola. Thanks very much, Flavia, for your question. I'm going to read Professor Luis Eugenio, please pay attention. His questions to you. Dear Professor Eugenio, thanks for your presentation and perspective on Cine and the CGI with Shell. My question: what are the strategies that FAPESP is aligning with industry to open opportunity for the professionals being formed in these initiatives? It's more or less the same, can be complemented with what Camila said.
Thank you, Flavia, for the question. And as we look at FAPESP's lines of investment, as already highlighted by Camila, we have this pesquisa inovativa em pequena empresa, or small business innovation research, or something like that would translate in English. It's actually a copy of a program by the National Science Foundation. And with that initiative, we aim at fostering the development of startups and of fostering technological research and innovation in small and very small companies. That would be one line of aligning. Of course, we would be very glad to see the, let's say, purchase of parts of whatever it's developed by Cine, by either other collaborators in the ecosystem, let's say, of energy, or by Shell, if Shell sees it as an opportunity. And that's about the limit where FAPESP's activities would go. It's as in any ecosystem, it's a complex ecosystem. FAPESP's main function is to fund and foster and indicate some lines of incentive, but it is to the other actors of the system to further develop and continue what comes out of initiatives such as the Cine initiative.
Thanks very much, Professor Luis Melo. We have one more question that is very provocative, that can be discussed all the time, but bring all the time. The question is from Luis Felipe Pironello. I think that's the last question to follow the time. What's the role of Brazil in the world energy transition? Will we just follow the rich countries, or could we be protagonists on this transition? I have my personal opinion, but I'd like to listen to the specialists. Luis Eugenio, Camila, and Ana Flávia, please, with the word.
Rubens, I would like to hear from you, if it's
Well,
okay.
I think, in my opinion, we are protagonists. We are showing the world since the program that we can do very good research and the learning curves, putting science and technology to the benefits of the society, and they are expanding now in several new frontiers. This kind of, let's say, collaboration between Shell and FAPESP is increasing very much, accelerating the ecosystem of good science and good technology. But I pass the word for the really important people in this table. Go on, Camila, Luis Eugenio, Ana Flávia. This is the last participation of yours for the time that you have to follow.
So I think I can start. Of course, Brazil is really one of the greenest countries in the world, but we have to consider this because our power comes from most of the hydroelectric. So I think we can lead this energy transition, especially because the two well-established technologies that at least I see, this is wind and the photovoltaic technologies. It's like we have a lot of, here in Brazil, have a lot of sun, have a lot of wind, and we have human resources, and we have everything that we can, in fact, if you take into account these two, let's say, more established technologies, if you really should invest, and then I think this should be agreement between government, academia, and also it's the private sector as well. I think if all we work together on this, I think definitely we can lead this. That's my, I think, I know that Camila want to really say something about it.
And yeah, but it's important to point out that Brazil, it's a very unique environment and ecosystem, because if you see that in Europe, for example, we have a few countries that are taking the lead in that region, like United Kingdom and Germany, but they have a very, very different environment as we have here in Brazil, because here, as Ana Flávia said, we have a lot of sun, we have a lot of wind, and we have a very long coastal line that can be explored for offshore wind as well. But we have something that the other countries doesn't have, which is a very, very well-established ethanol-based industry, the biofuels. And we need to take advantage of that. And several technologies that can be ethanol-based will be very welcome in the future, because ethanol can also be used as a logistic vector, because ethanol can be easily transformed into hydrogen, and hydrogen is also a decarbonization vector for several economies around the world, and the logistics around the ethanol is already well established, so it's a perfect match for the Brazil. I don't dare to say that we will take the lead, but we will take a very important role in that space, especially making the best use of the infrastructure where we already have in the country, because ethanol is pretty much spread around all over the country because of the land transportation that we use. Ethanol is already in the law. And that could be easily explored and translated into hydrogen generation. And this is really good, even for exportation, which could be much more safer than exporting hydrogen, the actual molecule. And also, there is a final point that I would like to point out, is that we have a regulated research environment here in Brazil, which means that we have an obligation for the private sector to invest in research and technology development, which means that we have several developments that could be developed overseas that has been slowly migrating to be developed in Brazil, because they want to take advantage of this fact, because we want to leverage those funds to further develop technology, which means that those technologies being developed in country, they will be tested in country as well. And that will be translated in the huge supply chain development, which means industry development, which is good for the country and is good for the overall, let's say, society. I know that there is a question in the chat, which is not in a Q&A, that talks about how we can develop the people. I would say that that will be the channel of human resources development, increasing and promoting those research and technology to be developed in country. So we'll be slowly taking not the lead, but a very good representation in the whole energy transition scenario, because all of the combination of these factors. This is my vision here.
Thanks very much, Camila. Professor Luis Eugênio wants to just finish a comment or something.
Just to agree with Camila in saying that it's government regulation. Government regulation is the key aspect to answer what was suggested. It is government regulation on research. It is government regulation on carbon emissions. It is government regulations on whatever aspect associated. That is how we may transform our environment.
Thanks very much. I would like to really thank you, all of you, Ana Flávia, Camila, and Professor Luis Eugênio. It was a real pleasure to have all of you here. It was a very exciting opening section.